Mark and Digger Shine in Madisonville. Mark Ramsey and Digger Maines from Discovery Channel's hit series Moonshiners stopped in at Simply Wine and Spirits in Madisonville during a moonshine tasting of their Sugarland Distilling Company liquors. The duo met with fans, posed for photographs and signed autographs. "They personally picked us," said Simply Wine and Spirits owner Rhonda Russell. "Said they wanted to come here, and that's pretty cool. We're excited to see a crowd come out for them." The line to see the Moonshiners weaved out the door of the store and along the sidewalk. People came from the surrounding area and states away for the big event. Trent and Sherry Holman from Hull, GA, had already made plans for a vacation in Pigeon Forge when they saw online that Mark and Digger were going to be in Monroe County. "We wanted to meet them," said Trent Holman. "We watch the show religiously every week. Those two are probably my favorites." So the Holmans changed their vacation plans, canceling their hotel room and choosing instead to visit Monroe County. "We went to the Lost Sea earlier," said Sherry Holman. Both old and young alike came out to visit with Mark and Digger. 12-year-old Hunter Hamby of Vonore is also a big fan of the TV show. "It's good," said Hamby, excited to meet the two. Hamby brought a moonshine still he made out of Legos to show the famous duo. The young boy, confined to a wheelchair, was all smiles and full of excitement. "This has been a special treat for him," said Becky Beale, Hamby's guardian. Mark Ramsey and his sidekick Digger Maines grew up in Cook County, but the two admit they have not quite grown up yet. "Mama always told me to grow up, and I told her I didn't like grown-ups," laughed Digger. In rural Appalachia country, moonshining was a part of their heritage. "Everyone in our neck of the woods did it," said Mark. In fact, the duo learned most of what they know from their mentor, the late, infamous Marvin Popcorn Sutton. "Popcorn was challenging," reflected Mark. "That's a nice word for it," agreed Digger. "He was genuine," continued Mark. "I wish everyone could have met him. He had a big heart, but he made up for that stature with a lot of talk." It was Mark's close friendship with Popcorn Sutton that led to the duo ending up on television. "They, Discovery, approached us about the TV show and this guy," Mark said, pointing to Digger. "Well, he was the natural choice to join me." Because the shows air a while after they are filmed, Mark and Digger have managed to evade the law. "We just try to stay out of their way," said Digger. "We've talked to the sheriff, and if he don't see us doing it, he ain't gonna bother us." It was evident that the Moonshiners knew their trade as someone with a severe cough came through the line. "That right, they will clear that cough right up," pointed Digger. "That clear one there." Moonshiners is currently on its 6th season. The show airs on Discovery on Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Mark and Digger Shine in Madisonville. The small town of Madisonville had never been the center of any grand narrative. Nestled in the southern hills, it was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone, and stories spread faster than a wildfire in August. But there was something special about it, a magic of sorts, that kept it humming along in a way that made outsiders feel like they'd stumbled into a secret. Mark and Digger were two of those locals, known for their friendship that went way back to childhood. Mark had inherited the local hardware store, a dusty, yet charming relic of a bygone era. Digger, his loyal companion, wasn't really a digger, but everyone called him that because of his knack for getting into trouble in the oddest of ways, often with a shovel or some other tool in hand. Though their roles in the town were simple, they had a reputation that stretched beyond their actions. They were known as the Shiners of Madisonville, a nickname that only made sense when you understood the way they went about life, always working, always helping, always making the world shine a little brighter. It all started one summer afternoon, the kind of warm day where the sun felt like a thick blanket on your skin and the cicadas buzzed relentlessly in the trees. Mark and Digger were sitting on the porch of the hardware store, sipping iced tea and watching the world go by. "I tell ya, Digger, this place is about to change," Mark said, looking out toward Main Street, where the old brick buildings stood with their fading paint and cracked windows. "I can feel it in the air." Digger, who had been poking at a loose nail on the porch with the tip of his boot, grunted in agreement. "I reckon so. But change ain't always a good thing. Not around here anyway. Madisonville's always been like a slow-moving river, steady, quiet, and sometimes a little too lazy." Mark chuckled. "True. But sometimes, even the quietest rivers need a little stirring up." The sound of a car pulling up interrupted the moment. A man in a crisp suit, looking out of place in the heat of the afternoon. He adjusted his tie as if he were walking into a boardroom, not a sleepy little town. Well, what do we have here?" Digger muttered, squinting toward the newcomer. "What's a suit like that doing in a place like this?" Mark was already standing up. "Let's find out." They both strolled toward the man, who was examining the hardware store with a slightly bewildered expression, as if he'd just stepped into a time machine. "Can I help you, sir?" Mark asked, extending a hand. The man looked at Mark, then Digger, before shaking Mark's hand. "Yeah, I'm here to talk about potential development. You know, revitalizing this area, making it more modern." Mark's eyebrows lifted slightly. "Revitalizing? Modern? I take it you're not here to buy a few hammers." The man laughed, clearly more comfortable now that he had someone to talk to. No. I'm here on behalf of a company looking to invest in Madisonville. We're thinking about turning Main Street into a commercial hub, maybe tear down some of these old buildings and replace them with something more up to date." Diva snorted, shaking his head. "Tear down? You can't tear down Madisonville." The man raised an eyebrow, clearly surprised by Digger's bluntness. "Why not?" Mark spoke up, his tone measured. "Because, sir, this town's got history. The buildings may be old, but they're what make Madisonville what it is. People here don't want fancy storefronts and shiny glass buildings. They want this, what we have right now." The man was taken aback by Mark's conviction. "But the town's falling behind. No one comes here anymore. You're losing people to the bigger towns, the cities. You need to keep up." Mark smiled. "Madisonville doesn't need to keep up with anyone. It's always been ahead in its own way. It's a place where folks know each other, where you can sit on a porch and still feel like you're part of something real. You can't buy that with new buildings or a glossy facade." The man shifted his weight uncomfortably. "I don't know if that'll work in the long run. People are always looking for convenience, for progress." David chuckled. "You want to talk about progress, huh? Well, let me tell you something about progress. This town's got something that no amount of money can buy. Heart." The man looked confused. "Heart?" Mark nodded. "You see, Mr. Suit, what we've got here is a community. A real community, where people help each other, where people like Digger and me go out of our way to make things shine, even when no one's watching. That's the spirit of Madisonville." Digger grinned. "And that's why they call us the Shiners." The man didn't seem to understand. "The Shiners, yeah," Mark said. "We shine up this town in our own way. We fix what's broken, help out when we can, and make sure things stay together, even when life tries to tear them apart. It's not about fancy new buildings or making everything look perfect. It's about keeping the heart of this place alive." For a moment, the man stood there, speechless. He glanced around at the weathered buildings, at the small-town charm that was obvious to anyone who took the time to notice it. Slowly, his shoulders slumped, as if the weight of his ideals was starting to shift. You're right, he finally said. Maybe I don't get it. Maybe. Maybe I need to rethink my approach. Mark smiled. I think you do. But it's not too late. You can still bring in new things, just don't try to replace what's already here. The man hesitated, then nodded. I'll take that into consideration. As the man drove away, Mark and Digger stood there for a while, watching the SUV disappear down Main Street. Digger was the first to speak. Well, I think we just saved Madisonville. Mark laughed. Maybe, but we didn't do it alone. The people here make this town what it is. We just help keep it shining. And that was the key to their friendship, to their success in keeping the town's spirit alive. Mark and Digger weren't extraordinary in any conventional sense. They weren't rich or famous. They didn't have grand ambitions. They just had a simple, unwavering belief in the power of community, and in making their little corner of the world shine, even when no one else was paying attention. In the days that followed, the town of Madisonville did, in fact, start to change, but not in the way the man had expected. Instead of tearing down the old buildings, the community rallied together to restore them. People came out of the woodwork, offering their skills, their time, and their resources. The hardware store became a hub of activity, a place where people could gather, share stories, and work side by side on projects that mattered. And through it all, Mark and Digger continued to shine. They didn't need new developments or grand gestures to feel fulfilled. They had something better, the knowledge that, in their own way, they were helping to keep the heart of Madisonville alive. It wasn't